Good morning, I'm Kenneth Moten.
I'm Elizabeth Herr. Here are the top 5 things to know this Monday. Number 1, the impeachment battle in Washington.
House Democrats were hoping to hear from 4 White House officials today, but all 4 are now expected to be no-shows despite a subpoena threat.
The White House says it won't participate in what it calls the fake impeachment process, but Democrats still hope to hear from former National Security Advisor John Bolton.
Number 2, President Trump is threatening to cut federal aid for California wildfires.
The president accused the state's Democratic governor of doing a, quote, terrible job of forest management, but the most recent California wildfires did not burn down any forests.
Gavin Newsom, the governor there, later fired back on Twitter, "You don't believe in climate change? You are excused from this conversation."
On to number 3. Smugglers are reportedly sawing through new sections of President Trump's border wall.
The Washington Post reports that gangs in Mexico have been using a commercial saw to cut through it. The gaps are large enough for people and goods to pass through.
Agents are now reportedly patrolling the wall in search of defects and having them mended.
Number 4, McDonald's has fired its CEO for having an affair with another employee.
Steve Easterbrook has also resigned from the board. The 52-year-old pushed the company to modernize and led the drive for all-day breakfast.
He sent an email to McDonald's employees saying, "I engaged in a recent consensual relationship with an employee, which violated McDonald's policy. This was a mistake. Given the values of the company, I agree with the board that it is time for me to move on."
In response, a workers' rights group criticized McDonald's for waiting too long to address what it calls a sexual harassment problem at the company.
And finally, number 5, on this manic Monday, we are all wishing we could have a long weekend. One company tried giving all workers a 3-day weekend every week.
Microsoft's Japanese employees went to a 4-day work week in August. They got every Friday off with no cut in salary or loss of vacation time.
Reports say the 1-month experiment led to a 40% increase in productivity. Workers had to be more efficient, and many meetings were shortened, eliminated, or conducted remotely. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Monday.
Yes, happy Monday, and we have a lot to get to. So let's get right to that big story. The several developments from the impeachment showdown in Washington. Today, 4 White House officials are scheduled to testify on Capitol Hill.
But sources say all 4 men are expected to be no-shows, even under the threat of subpoena. The big question now is, will we hear from former National Security Advisor John Bolton this week?
All of this comes as Republicans respond to a new offer from the whistleblower in the Ukraine call scandal. ABC's Megan Tavrizian is here with the latest. Megan, good morning.
Good morning, Elizabeth and Kenneth. A lawyer for the whistleblower says his client is willing to answer written questions submitted by House Republicans. But this morning, at least one leading Republican says that's not good enough because the whistleblower wouldn't be cross-examined.
Another busy week on Capitol Hill amid a growing impeachment showdown. President Trump still adamant he did nothing wrong.
My phone call was perfecto. It was totally appropriate.
Stepping up demands the whistleblower, who raised questions about his phone call with the president of Ukraine, be revealed.
But the whistleblower should be revealed because the whistleblower gave false stories. Some people would call it a fraud.
That demand, despite key congressional testimony supporting the whistleblower's claims. In a surprise proposal, the whistleblower's legal team has now offered to answer congressional Republicans' written questions directly to them under penalty of perjury without having to go through the Democrat-controlled impeachment process. The whistleblower's attorney telling ABC News, now we have offered directly to the GOP, they have no excuses. But some Republicans say that's not enough.
You will have the chance to propose witnesses. Who do you want to call?
Well, there are a lot of people. I mean, the whistleblower themselves.
The top Republican on the House Oversight Committee, Jim Jordan, saying you don't get to ignite an impeachment effort and never account for your actions and role in orchestrating it.
The whistleblower's attorney has stressed the need for his client to remain anonymous for safety for that person's family, saying there have already been death threats. Kenneth.
All right, Megan, thank you. But before you go, when will the public be able to learn more about what's happening behind closed doors with the impeachment inquiry?
Well, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff is expected to start releasing transcripts of witness testimony delivered in closed-door depositions as early as this week.
All right, Megan, thank you. In other news, the Russian woman sent to prison for trying to influence U.S. politics says claims she is a spy are, quote, nonsense.
Maria Butina is telling her story. She spoke with 60 Minutes shortly before being sent back to Russia. Butina served 15 months in prison after pleading guilty to conspiracy to act as a foreign agent. Prosecutors say she tried to use the NRA as a back channel to push pro-Russia policies, but Butina, a gun rights activist, says her NRA connections were strictly business.
I never thought to influence your policies. I came here on my own because I wanted to learn from the United States and go back to Russia to make Russia better.
Butina claims prosecutors tried to paint her as a Kremlin seductress, but she feels had she been American, the connections she made with the NRA and prominent conservatives would have been considered social networking.
Health is a major issue for the Democratic presidential hopefuls, including one in particular. A new ABC News Washington Post poll shows Joe Biden still leading with 28% of the vote. Elizabeth Warren now has 23%, Bernie Sanders with 17%. Pete Buttigieg leads the rest of the pack with 9%, but 4 out of 10 Democrats say Sanders' health isn't good enough to serve as president. Meanwhile, Warren is facing fire over whether her Medicare for All proposal is practical.
Well, the math is certainly controversial. Again, there are variations in the estimates in the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. And we don't have to go there in order to deliver health care to everybody.
Polls out of Iowa shows that voters there show Buttigieg with even more support than the national numbers, but he cautions that the race is still, quote, fluid and anything can happen.
Former President Jimmy Carter says he is okay with dying. The 95-year-old made the comment at a Sunday school church service in his hometown of Plains, Georgia.
His message was about belief in resurrection and life after death as a Christian, and he talked about his cancer diagnosis 4 years ago, first in his liver, then in his brain.
Well, I assumed naturally that I was going to die very quickly. And I always prayed about it. I didn't ask God to let me live, but I just asked God to give me a proper attitude toward death. And I found that I was absolutely and completely at ease with death.
Mr. Carter said his only concern about dying was missing his family, but he realized that as a Christian, he would see them again.
Well, people are mourning famed Latin American astrologer Walter Mercado. He endeared himself to millions of Hispanic television viewers for more than 3 decades. Mercado died Saturday in his native Puerto Rico from kidney failure. Fans loved his predictions as much as his outfits, which were accented with gems. Before becoming an iconic astrologer, Mercado worked as an actor and dancer. Mercado was 87.
And check out this close call on train tracks east of Phoenix. A pickup truck rear-ended a car and pushed it onto the tracks as the train sped closer. Good Samaritans jumped in to pull the driver to safety just as the train slams into her car. Thankfully this morning, that woman is okay.
Well, at least 1 person is dead and 8 others hospitalized from a salmonella outbreak linked to ground beef. The CDC is now warning people not to eat raw or undercooked ground beef. Well-cooked ground beef is still okay. This particular strain of salmonella causes more severe infections that can infect the blood. 10 people have become sick in at least 6 states. The death occurred in California. Investigators have not yet identified a single source or brand of ground beef.
Airbnb is banning so-called party houses after 5 people were killed during a Halloween celebration in the San Francisco Bay Area.
The deadly gathering was held at a rental and was advertised on social media as a mansion party. More than 100 people showed up, and the woman who rented the house allegedly told the owner she wanted to escape smoke from a nearby wildfire. That new policy was announced over the weekend.
Coming up, it's your move, Chick-fil-A. Popeyes brings back its famous chicken sandwich, and we got to try it.
But first, the shipwreck finally stirred from its resting place in Niagara Falls after this.
Return now to that massive ship that's creeping toward the edge of Niagara Falls.
The large iron vessel had been wedged in the rocks near the falls for more than 100 years, but now a powerful storm has dislodged the ship, pushing it closer to the world-famous cliffs. This morning, this historical ship is on the move for the first time in more than a century. The decaying cargo ship was wedged in the rocks above Niagara Falls, but now it's closer to the edge of the fall's nearly 200-foot drop.
It's been stuck there for 101 years. It appears to have sort of flipped on its side and spun around.
The ship has been a must-see attraction at the falls since it got stuck in the rocks back in 1918 when it broke away from its barge. The Coast Guard pulled 2 men on board to safety after a dramatic 17-hour-long rescue. The ship, thought to be unmovable, stayed put until last week on Halloween night. A record-breaking wind and rainstorm swept through the region Thursday.
Oh my God.
Dislodging the wreck, flipping it over, and pushing it more than 150 feet downstream.
It's not in the exact same spot it was yesterday. We think it's about 50 meters downriver from its original location. And what we think has happened now is it's turned and twisted in the very heavy current and flow of the river, and is stuck where it is now.
Park officials say they are keeping a close eye on the ship's new resting place, and if it starts moving again, authorities will be notified to keep tourists away.
It's stuck where it is now, and it could be stuck there for days, or it could be stuck there for years. It's anyone's guess.
Back in 1918, the 2 men on board flooded the ship to slow it down and stop it from going over the falls.
Now to Iraq, where protesters have blocked roads with burning tires and attacked the Iranian consulate in the city of Karbala. So let's go across the pond now to our foreign correspondent, Julia McFarlane in the London Bureau for the latest on this. Good morning, Julia.
Morning, Kenneth. Yes, those protests across Iraq are continuing. They've been going on since the beginning of October. A reminder that protesters, they're calling for an end to government corruption. They want more jobs and better services. Now, as you say, there was cars were blocking key intersections across the capital, Baghdad, but also there were violent scenes in the holy city of Karbala. That is what you're seeing now as protesters near the Iranian consulate. Now, this is what we believe to be a response to last week's attack in the same city after protesters, 18 protesters, were gunned down by masked gunmen. Now, it's a very holy city, Karbala, so a very, very sensitive area for the Iraqis there. And these scenes of protesters burning the walls outside the Iranian consulate and attacking the buildings, those were retweeted by the president late last night.
Well, Julia, let's move on now to the Ebola crisis in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where we're hearing reports this morning that a journalist covering the outbreak has been killed in that attack.
Yeah, let's check in with this because this is the Democratic Republic of Congo's second outbreak of Ebola. 2,000 people have died in this second outbreak. There have been around 3,000 recorded infections, and some really sad news this morning. A health worker and a journalist who spent a lot of time raising awareness about this outbreak. He was called Pape Mumbere Mahamba. He was attacked and killed in his home by unknown people. His wife was wounded and their house was burnt down. Now, this is an important thing to note, that health workers are particularly pressured in the DRC, and they're under threat because a lot of people are highly suspicious of the whole situation around Ebola. There's a lot of conspiracy theories. A lot of people feel Ebola is a hoax. There's, of course, because when people are infected and they die, a lot of healthcare workers, they have to bury them without traditional burial ceremonies. And so a lot of people are highly suspicious about that. There's a lot of misinformation, and the World Health Organization has been blowing the whistle about this. Hospitals have been attacked, including earlier this year, and another healthcare worker was killed in April.
And speaking of health, let's move over to India, where the capital city they're restricting vehicle traffic as historic smog has caused a public health emergency. We're seeing some dramatic images now, Julia. People really should not adjust their screen. It looks hazy, it's foggy. This is the scene there in one of the world's most polluted cities. So how long is this expected to last?
Exactly. Really, really dangerous levels of dangerous particles in the air are much higher than recommended in the Indian capital, Delhi. Authorities are very, very worried about it. They have now launched a car rationing system in order to try and mitigate the levels of pollution. They don't know how long this is going to last, but they hope that taking a lot of cars off the roads may help the smog subside. But this is the second time they've done this, and it was unclear whether it really helped to tackle pollution. But they are trying it anyway. Schools are closed. Government officials are warning people to stay indoors, to not take any exercise. And people who do violate this car curfew, they're doing it by way of number plates. So cars with certain number plates must not be on the roads until further notice. They'll be fined just over $50 if they break that.
All right, Julia McFarland, it's always good to see you, my friend. Thanks for helping us start off the week. We appreciate it.
Thank you. See you soon.
All right, let's check our notifications now, starting with a sweet new ride for this British dad who had a little trouble getting out of his very new, expensive car. It's the Aston Martin there, and he was like, look, I love the car, have fun driving it, but I got to crawl out.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta figure out how to do this.
Especially when you're like, I got knee problems now, so as I get older. So it was like, yeah, if the knees don't bend that good,
yeah, but
do what you gotta do.
I'm betting that car isn't going anywhere.
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay. Well, Krispy Kreme donut deliveries have come to an end for a Minnesota college student. Now that is because the company told Jason Gonzalez to stop buying its donuts and reselling them at school. Gonzalez was driving to Iowa, buying up to 1,200 donuts and selling them for $20 per dozen because Minnesota doesn't have any Krispy Kremes. Well, the company says reselling them creates liability issues. Well, and then there was an unusual sight coming from the Philadelphia skyline, water spewing from the top of a skyscraper.
The jet stream poured from One Liberty Place for about 5 minutes, soaking the street. It's not clear how the water stream started, but social media users say the building was releasing pressure from its sprinkler system pipes. One Liberty Place is the second tallest skyscraper in the city. It's located in the heart of the downtown area known as Center City. It was pouring there. People probably didn't know.
Can you imagine walking underneath there? Like, wait, is it raining?
Well, if you're in a major city and things are dripping on you, take off.
Yes. Well, next, the shoes are making news in the aftermath of the New York City Marathon.
The footwear used by some of the top runners is generating a lot of buzz. These Nike Vaporfly sneakers are made with a mix of foam and carbon fiber plate. They're also shaped like a spoon. The design pushes runners forward and reduces the amount of energy they use. Some say it's too much of an advantage.
If they don't act soon, it's going to be too late. The 5 fastest men's marathons in history have all been run in the last 13 months, all by runners wearing Vaporflies.
One study found runners can go up to 4% faster in those shoes. International racing officials will decide by the end of the year whether those shoes provide an unfair advantage.
And that is our question of the day. Should these shoes be allowed in competitive racing? We're just, one day ago, there was the New York City Marathon, and so we saw some fast people.
Yeah.
Do you think these shoes even really work?
I don't know. What do you think?
I do think they work.
Really?
Yeah, they do. I mean, if trainers tell you all the time to make sure you get new shoes, like especially if you're running, even for like treadmill running, they say you need new like athletic shoes every 3 to 4 months.
That's so bad.
Instead of years, like the way I do. I just keep my shoes for years.
I am
Which is not good for your legs
much a
and
runner, so I didn't
shoes.
know. I
Yeah.
didn't buy into that whole you need to keep replacing your shoes. So I guess we'll find out.
Well, on that question of the day, tell us in the comments section or tweet us at ABC News Live. We want to hear from you. Let us know what you think.
Yes, and a celebrity spectacle played out at Universal Studios.
Guests at the park were treated to an impromptu and unusual performance by the John Legend, who apparently got a bit tipsy and took to the stage to sing one of his classics, off key and in a onesie.
Even when I lose, I'm winning. 'Cause I give me all of me. And me gives me all of me. Thank you.
I'm thinking he was trying to be funny, but wife Chrissy Teigen explained in a tweet that, quote, John got wine drunk. The whole joke was supposed to be that literally no one was watching or at the stage, but then he got on stage and was like, it's me, John Legend.
I'm pretty sure the crowds formed pretty quickly, too.
All right.
And finally, we got a chance to try the famous, infamous fried chicken sandwich from Popeyes for the first time since it disappeared back in August.
Will Gans braved the crowds to bring us the sandwich and this story, too.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank God is good. Lord have mercy.
The Popeyes chicken sandwich is heavenly. Miraculous, even.
I tell you the key. The key is it was the Popeyes spicy chicken sandwiches that I ate this week that helped the eye. So
when it first debuted in August, the Popeyes chicken sandwich exploded in popularity.
Popeyes announced the launch of their first nationwide chicken sandwich.
The sandwich making headlines, drawing huge crowds, and selling out, among other things.
I heard that someone once pulled a gun on somebody to get one of these chicken sandwiches. I can't imagine that it tastes that good, but we'll see.
Now it's back. The restaurant finally able to secure suppliers for that brioche bun and chicken breast. Returning on a Sunday, the day that Chick-fil-A notoriously shuts its doors. Across the country, cars lined up far beyond the drive-thru, into the street. Customers waiting, and their patience fried.
I personally waited an hour for this chicken sandwich.
No breaks. That was just straight from clock in to clock out time. And as you see, we're still working at it.
I mean, it's a meme craze going on. Everybody's been talking about it. I've been trying to get the chicken sandwich for like at least 2 months now. Here, my girlfriend's waiting outside and I just need to have the chicken sandwich.
Reports coming in from day one of the chicken sandwich's big return. From the calm.
The bun is like very buttery, and like the chicken is very crispy. Like it's good.
To the cray-cray. It looks like Armageddon. Some selling the chicken sandwich online, marked up 600%. But for the most part, the reviews are unanimous.
Our thanks to Will, and we tried it. It was delicious. It was on World News Now.
Yes.
Yours has disappeared.
All gone.
It's all gone. It was delicious. It really was. I see what the hype is about. Hey, coming up, we'll tell you what to watch out for as we start the week on this Monday.
Plus, the little girl making a big difference in her neighborhood, what she is doing for other children after this.
What to watch out for today, the world champion Washington Nationals will visit the White House, or most of them anyway. Pitcher Sean Doolittle won't be there. He says he objects to what he calls President Trump's divisive rhetoric on everything from race to disabilities to gender.
President Trump will welcome the Nats before traveling to Kentucky for a Keep America Great campaign rally.
And the funeral for Congressman John Conyers will be held at Greater Grace Temple in Detroit.
Plus, don't forget to tune in to The Debrief for an update on all our top stories and the briefing room for a breakdown of the latest headlines in politics.
And finally from us on this Monday morning, a 10-year-old New Jersey girl who is sharing the joy of reading.
Natalie Collin is running a pop-up library from her home. She's providing free books to kids around the Camden area. Her bedroom is stocked with books, and her brother is also a big reader.
Here, you take a book, and if you didn't like it, you give it away or put it back in and take another one. It's simple.
Natalie is hoping the program catches on far and wide. So far, there are 7 pop-ups or book arcs around the Camden area. We covered that area when we worked in Philadelphia. The place is all about community, people helping out folks, and we see little Natalie doing that as well, and her spirit is incredible. The message there just is amazing.
I love it. She's like, it's simple, and what a sweet gesture, and so hopefully it does catch on.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you for joining us. We've had a good Monday. Liz, her right here, she's gonna get some rest, get some sleep.
Have a great day, everyone.